Hi everybody, ArmyP here for eXplorminate.net. We're going to be making a video now looking at Master of Orion and the new DLC that's just dropped and has been accompanied with a very hefty patch. Now this patch is labeled 54.6. I'm pretty sure that kind of is an iteration from early access right up until this point. Now the DLC offers 3 additional races that you can play as well as a special race that's making a comeback from Master of Orion 2 named the Antarans, who, if you don't know much about the Master of Orion lore, are a nasty bunch of peoples who have been locked in some type of interdimensional prison for eons of time, and have now just recently been, they have broken free from this prison and are going to wreak havoc in your game, not only against you, but all of the other AI races. So what we're going to do today is just encompass and recap all of the different options that you have for the DLC packages, including the 3 races, and then we're going to dive into the game I've got going on currently, showing off some of the major changes that have happened in this recent patch. The ones that jump out are the addition of minor factions, a complete rework on the pollution system and the gravity system for the planets that you get to colonize, and how you're going to choose which planets that you're going to be able to take and which ones that you're not, and a rework of the new spy, or I should say a rework of the spy system, but it honestly feels quite new. And it's not nearly as or it doesn't require as much micromanagement as it did in previous patches. So without further ado, I think we're going to dive in and show off the 3 races that you're now going to be able to purchase. I do believe you can get them at a combined bundle price of about $10, 10 American dollars, and whatever your local equivalent. So we're going to dive into making a new game. Oh, I don't want that. Yeah, okay, so we're going to go into a new game. That's fine. The continue option is just a autosave. Now if you look down at the bottom here, we have the Elerians, and they are a feudalistic civilization with a rigid caste system and kind of atypical reverse gender roles, where the women are very much the warriors, aka very something similar to you would see in ancient Rome, where, rigid caste system, and the men are all the philosophers and the scientists. So it's kind of a twist on the words, but the really cool thing about the Elerians is that not only do you get some pretty interesting traits when you get to pick them, but they also have their own specific types of ships, which is awesome, because it's cosmetically, it's always nice to see more and different and unique ships. So let's see, we've got their Spartan type, militaristic, and enlightened. Some of the traits that you have for the Elerians are telepathic. They got increased security and assimilation power. Omniscient. They know all. So this is when it's enabled, the races can see all the stars, planets, and opponents' colonies from the very beginning. So obviously picking the Elerians is strategically, it's massive to know exactly where your enemies are going to be located, where all their colonies are, and it would be a great strategy for a forward colony rush. They get plus 25% to beam attacks and plus 25% to their beam defense. So all in all, pretty darn good race, especially if you're going to be choosing a more militaristic, a more, conquer the stars, not to be the biggest pun. And yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to be a lot of fun to play. Next is the Gnolam. Now I actually chose these guys. The name obviously represents the anthropomorphic type upright gnoll that's going on here, but they are fantastic traders. They're prosperous, greedy, and lucky. So I've been playing in my recent game with the Gnolam because I like being able to get lots of credits when I play my 4X games. I often don't go for a, some type of, economic type victory condition typically when I play a 4X game, but I like having lots of credits because I can field a much larger fleet. So what I lose in, let's say, beam, attack, and defense, I will gain by having a larger fleet, and that's typically one of the things I like to do. So I chose the Gnolam, and they get some pretty interesting traits that can help you along the way. You get fantastic traders, which is you get 25% more credits per trade treaty. You get a special ability, Lucky. So before, they got to, the Elerians got to see where all of the colonies are. Ours is Lucky. These fortunate beings must have saved up a huge chunk of karma from their previous life. Negative events never seem to find them, and as luck would have it, they get attacked far less frequency by outside forces. I can honestly say that this is a trait that seems kind of like an RNG magnet. It's very difficult to quantify what is lucky and what's not, but I have yet to have anything terrible happen to me in my game, whereas it might have, had I not known. You get 50% increase credits per population. Now that is actually additive to all of the different things that you can get in the game in terms of like a commerce type infrastructure, so that'll compound on top of that. So expect a lot of credits per turn. And they come from a low gravity homeworld, which I find interesting because you can see here that this particular Gnolam, Bordus, is quite low to the ground. I figured low gravity, well, you'd be upright and tall and frail by all intents and purposes. He kind of looks like he lived on a heavy or a high gravity homeworld, but in fact he didn't. And then finally, and I'm going to butcher this, I apologize in advance. If you're listening to me right now, I'm going to butcher it. The Trilarian. Trilarian? That's pretty close. That's not so bad. I think I knocked it out of the park. So this race can only be described as absolutely hideous. There's some type of aquatic type, race that looks like they should just go right back to the depths of the ocean of which they came. They're not winning any beauty prizes, and I don't even care if this is the most beautiful Trilarian that they had available. The different traits that they have available is aquatic. Their homeworld is an ocean biome. And the ocean uber planet, this race can transform tundra planets into ocean planets. So it has that ability, a special ability to actually take and terraform essentially planets into ocean planets. And they're trans-dimensional, which means that their ship movement is plus 25%. And their combat bonus speed is 25%, which is excellent. It kind of balances out a little bit. I think that the Trilarian, my apologies, it would be an interesting choice to play if you wanted to really mix it up, because you can see, from the standard races that have been previously available in this game, they're pretty status quo. But when it comes to these 3 DLCs, they all kind of get that one quirk or one unique ability or trait that separates them from the pack. Obviously, with the Elerians being omnipresent, whatever. She can see things. She's all-knowing. But being able to know exactly where your enemy's home location is and the locations of their colony is a massive advantage. The Gnolam, which I'm playing, gets 50% credits from the population, and I can tell you when we load into my game, it is quite impressive. And I haven't had a chance to play as Trilarians, but being able to, it would be a fun challenge, I think, and it would definitely take it off of the, sometimes the railroads you get into 4X gaming, to try, colonizing and terraforming different planets. And to offset that, the ability to move 25% faster than anybody else in the game, especially at the start, is a big one. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to continue my game that I currently have. We're going to dive right into the game that I'm currently playing right now with the Gnolam race. Now, we're about a turn, just shy of 100. So we're kind of getting past the exploration phase, and we're kind of had the expansion phase, and kind of give you an idea or indication of where we're at right now. There's 2 things that I kind of want to talk about, and broken into 2 different groups. One of them is additions, and one of them is reworks of some of the different mechanics for this specific patch that you guys all get for free, which is always awesome in my books. The most sought after and demanded feature, I think, when it came to Master of Orion that unfortunately it didn't launch with, is the leader system. Now in the game you get randomly offered the services of different types of leaders. Some of them break into 2 categories. Now they break into a category of being able to manage your fleet or being to manage one of your colonies. Now, like with most 4X games and Master of Orion 2 before this, you get to choose your different type of leader and accompany them onto a specific fleet. Each one of these leaders comes with different bonuses. You can see here that Nori is a rogue captain that I've acquired and hired, and their salary is 1 BC per turn. I've given them a status on one of my destroyers, and they give me a bonus of 4% weapons damage to the ship that they're currently in. So it kind of makes it like a little bit of a flagship, which is just great. It offers a little bit of variety and taste, and you can also kind of use that to give yourself a tactical edge when it comes to having a commander, as well as the lady here that I have, which is another leader. She has a salary of 6 BC to turn, but she gives me plus 10% credits and trade treaty income, which can be very, very big. Like, you already know that the Gnolam is being 50% more BC per population than anybody else, and it's one of their traits, right? To be able to be thrifty and good with money. But that being said, an additional 10%, so I've parked her onto a Jacob Prime, which was creating the most BC per turn in my empire, and it's paid dividends. Another thing when it comes to the rank of each one of the leaders that you're able to acquire is that through different ways of gaining experience, time in the actual game, they will actually go up in rank, and then their bonuses will actually increase, making it so that if you have a captain of a specific type fleet, and one of the leaders has got, you know, an upgraded commander rank status, maybe all the way up to Grand Admiral. I'm not too sure how high it goes, and their bonuses are massive. It really does take away from the throwaway fleet idea that sometimes you get in these games where you're just constantly producing more ships versus trying to save specific ones. Keeping a commander alive would be it has to be taken into consideration for your tactical advancement through the stars. Same with your administrator. You definitely don't want to lose them, but they, of course, the administrator will go up in rank as they develop more experience points, and so will their bonuses. I like the leader system. It's a staple with so many different 4X games nowadays. I really hope that they keep on it and add more leaders and add interesting leaders with really, you know, fun and unique different traits and bonuses that we can play with. So that was one of the requested additions that we have now. The second one is where are we? Sorry, is miners. I'm just trying to see where my miners are. Okay. So now, Master of Orion has minor factions. Now, minor factions are non-playable factions that have no agenda besides just hanging out on their one planet. Now, you'll notice here that we have the Acarian, whatever. They're a whole bunch of lizard people that live on this tiny little planet right here, and they seem like they're awfully nice. So what happens is, if we colonize a planet within this star system, we will get a bonus, and that bonus for this particular race is it will provide 3 research points per turn to all of the colonies in the system. Hey, that's a good bonus, why not? So it gives you a breakdown of the political status of who's got the top influence in there. But you'll notice here that I get something at the bottom called invest. I can actually invest money by making these this minor faction increase its research points per turn for the available colony in the system. And that's great, because I really think that 3, you know, research points at the beginning of the game can be quite, you know, that can be, you know, a good turning point. But as you get to the midpoint of the game or late stages of the game, 3 research beakers per turn is not going to be anything to scoff at. There's no reason to protect them. There's no reason to really even care about them at all, because they're not providing you with a substantial boost. But with the different levels of your investment, that actually can get increased quite heavily, and making a planet that's in the same star system a very specialized scientific community for you. Unfortunately, I don't have any other minor races to show you in this game that I'm currently playing, but I have seen ones that provide food and production as well. So again, it's a feature that everybody was asking for. I like the mechanic of being able to invest in the miners. It's not just something that they're there and you end up conquering them or just ignoring them. Being able to invest in their infrastructure, in their society, in their civilization, and then be able to reap that benefits later on, I think is a cool mechanic, and it's something to definitely jump in and play around with. Now we're going to talk about two more events that or additions, I should say, they're more reworks, telling you the honest truth. And those two reworks are the espionage system. Now, if you remember from previous patches, what would happen was you would build a what was it called? It was, I just want to make sure I got it, a spy center. So you would build a spy center, and here it is right here. It would provide you with an additional 20% to your security. It's Empire unique, and you built it. And what would happen was a specific number of turns would go by, and then you would automatically just get a spy. And unfortunately, it just made for a lot of micromanagement as you just continually got spy after spy after spy. Also, what you'd have to do is you'd have to take your spy and then click them on a specific planet that you wanted them to infiltrate, or whatever the case may be. And then, of course, every couple of turns, a new spy would come up, and then spies that were already out on missions would require updates of what you needed them to do. So as you got to the end game, it became quite a chore to deal with all of these different spies that were popping in and out of covert missions. What they've done instead is they've got it so that you can train your agent. So you can train an agent. Now it's on your payroll, and once you got them on your payroll, what you can do is you can do Empire missions against by basically choosing whatever destination, whatever other race that you want. So you can see here that I'm going to try to infiltrate the Empire. No problem at all. So I'm going to select my destination, and it goes by the entire the entire opposing civilization versus just picking a specific colony they actually would do that at. So this is a great addition, and I really like it, because if I was currently at war with the Meklar, you wouldn't notice it says here I got a truce in 19 turns, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to get them to go on this mission and infiltrate the Meklar, because I want to know what they're up to. I want to know how big their fleet is. I want to know why they attacked me in the first place. Now you'll notice here that they have, and I'm going to train another agent, why not? And they also have a little kind of level up here. You can see here my alpha spy is at level 1. As they get progressively better and progressively get up in levels, they'll be able to complete different tasks. You can see here like steal star charts, hacking, and then right up into assassinating. I'm guessing might be another leader, to tell you the honest truth. Additionally, you can choose something to do with capturing your enemy spies before you either deported them or you killed them. I'm not entirely certain what you can do, because I haven't been able to capture any spies, but I'm guessing you could probably interrogate them and get some type of research bonus at the possible risk of damaging public relations with that empire. And then finally, the last one has to do, it's kind of a double-edged two-hitter there, kind of breaks into two parts. There's been a rework of the gravity system, and there's been a rework of the pollution system. Now, the way that gravity used to work is you can see here that I have a gravity low. If I were to, because my race prefers low gravity versus normal or high. If I choose to go and colonize a planet, let's say where I want to, indulge this minor faction, if I went to any place that had normal or high gravity, I would have a 25% reduction to both my food, my production, and I even believe my research. So unfortunately, it makes picking low gravity or acquiring low gravity planets a high priority. I chose the Gnoll because I don't think there are a lot of races that have low gravity planets as a priority, so it meant that my colony rush could slow down a little bit, even though I decided to take a couple planets. But I know for a fact that most of them are not going to be able to colonize low gravity worlds. So it was my personal choice to play it that way, and it's worked out well for my favor. Now we'll just do a look at the pollution system now. Now the pollution system used to be that you started to create pollution by having certain structures onto your building certain structures that created pollution, right? So it probably, a automatic factory would be an example that creates pollution. And what would happen was, if you started to have a plus per turn pollution, you're basically, once you got to about 40%, it would slowly decrease how much production that you had. And then what you could do is you could build infrastructure to lower that, per turn pollution mechanic. Or what you could do is you could simply scrub it right off of, like, it's essentially like a worldwide effort to clean up your entire planet, where part of your production would actually go convert into cleaning up pollution. Now, if I open up the production window, you can see that actually doesn't exist anymore at the beginning of the game. So you can, very much like Trade BC, where I convert 50% of my production at BC per credits, there used to be one for pollution. That's no longer there. Now, if we just look at the pollution window as it pops down, each biome type can withstand a certain maximum pollution level before degrading. These industrial and population-made activities in the colony also causes soil contamination, reducing food production, but it doesn't food structures. So depending on the biome that you have, it's more susceptible to pollution. And as soon as you start to go over a certain point of pollution, in terms of, the number here has a 300 threshold maximum, but once you start to get into 20 or 30 pollution, you'll notice that the amount of food being produced on the planet goes down, by, I think it's 25% to start, and then it gets progressively worse. And the only way to counteract that is to build the appropriate infrastructure. So you can see here, I'm not too sure if I have it or not on this planet. Does not look like I do, which is funny because my pollution is rather low. No, I don't. But anyway, I'm pretty sure if I pull up in the window, you can see atmospheric renewer. So what it does is it does a pollution cleanup of 5. So it does essentially takes the pollution that I have and minuses 5 off it. You can see here I'm already at minus 10, so I'm not worried about it too much. But it does force you to not ignore pollution very much like it was in previous patches. It's something that you have to take into consideration, especially if you're on a biome that's more susceptible to pollution and its effects are more haphazardly to your food production. And it does kind of streamline your infrastructure build, what you choose to have on your build. You have to take those into consideration, there's no doubt. There's been a lot of little different things that are like just quality of life improvements when it comes to Master of Orion in this recent patch. One of the things I really like is that if I choose my production window here and I want to go to a frigate at the bottom, it says the quantity I wish to build. So instead of having to build one and then go back or put 5 individual ones on a queue, previously they had an option there where you can build 1 or 5 but no denomination in between. But now I can sit there and build up to 5, or I can build up to 1, whatever the case may be, and it gives me my total production cost. I queue it up, and guess what? Here she is. Additionally, they added in a use auto build, which basically means that I can just, colonize a planet through on the auto build, and then it'll actually build all of the different infrastructure itself. And I tested it out a little bit, and at the beginning of the game, it seems to build what you figure you should build, especially for a fledgling colony right at the beginning. But of course, as you start to go to war or specific type of things happen in the game, you're probably going to want to turn that off and manually take these back over. Now, there is obviously one omission that I have done on purpose when it comes to this new patch of Master of Orion, Conquer the Stars, and that is the introduction of the Antarans. Now, they are a bizarre, ticked off, very powerful race that has currently been imprisoned in some type of interdimensional prison for I don't know how many millennia, long time, and now they are out. And what they do, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but I will give you a little bit of a hint, is they're coming, they're ticked off, and everybody's a target. I will tell you from a mechanic standpoint that they show up early, but they decide their fleet size and their composure and how much they choose to make things muck when it comes to your plans of conquering the entire galaxy. Seems to be scaled to what era that you're in. So don't expect to, if they park into your backyard, that you just rage quit. For the most part, I found that it scaled rather well. I know there's been 2 incursions for me already. I don't want to say anything else because it's going to be it's a fun mechanic they've added in the game. I really don't want to spoil it for you if you're going to be playing your very first Master of Orion game, or perhaps you're going to come back to Master of Orion after a bit of a stint away, and you're thinking, oh, I really want to, what happens. It's pretty hard to get away from knowing that they're in the game, because it is, it is promoted and it is talked about in the patches, and of course the patch is called the Antarans, so it's a bit of a giveaway if you're a Master of Orion fan from way back in the day. But how those mechanics actually play out and what actually happens is very entertaining, and I hope you enjoy the surprise. So everybody, this has been ArmEP for eXplorminate.net. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a recap of the patch and the DLC now available for Master of Orion. Like I said, the 3 additional factions are going to be interesting to play and enjoy. I think that there's enough traits there that are very unique that you didn't see in the previous races that came with the game's base the base game, that'll be add a little flair to your next playthrough. And the quality of life changes, the additions of minor factions, of leaders, and the rework of some of the mechanics, especially when it comes to espionage, are definitely welcome changes. I will keep up to speed with all of their 4X gaming news, including anything coming out for Master of Orion.